As a reminder, video recording is not permitted in the interview room. Good evening, and please welcome South Carolina Gamecocks head coach Don Staley and our student athletes, Tyasha Harris, and the Stockton Regional All-Tournament Team Most Outstanding Player, Kaela Davis. First, we'll have an opening statement from Coach Staley, then we'll open up for questions for our student athletes. Coach?
Just really thankful. God has been good to our program. It's been good to me personally, and this wouldn't be possible without him. And at the same time, I'd like to thank the Florida State Seminoles, who are, coached well. And although we see the victory side of it, the defeat side of it is, some seniors won't get the experience going to a Final Four, and I do feel for them. But at the same time, I'm happy for our players, and I'm happy that they put themselves in a position to go on and realize their dreams as well.
Now for questions for our student athletes. Please state your name and media outlet before each question. And if you can direct your question to a player, that'd be greatly appreciated. We'll start here with Michelle, and then we'll go back, and then Jordan.
Michelle Smith, ESPNW. Kaela, can you just talk about your performance here in Stockton, your confidence just in terms of what you wanted to accomplish in terms of bringing offense to the team, and you think you succeeded doing that?
Sure. I think tonight the biggest thing was our defense, though. We found ways to get stops. I think we started the game off really well. But obviously it's just being aggressive. I think my main point was just, to come in and be aggressive. And, the end goal is obviously to get to the Final Four and manage to accomplish that.
Jeff Owens, Spurs and Feathers. Kaela, when Asia got in foul trouble, did you feel like that you needed to step up at that point? It seemed like that's when you really started scoring a lot of points. Sure.
Obviously with, Asia, she draws a lot of attention. So, with her being out, we had to still score and get buckets. We were getting stops, but they kind of went on runs here and there. So we had to find a way to counter that and balance it out a little bit.
Jordan Culver, Tallahassee Democrat. Kaela, at one point Florida State got out to within 3 points. Did you say anything? Did you personally say anything to the team to get South Carolina to settle down? And in the end, Florida State ended up missing 7 of its last 8 shots. Was that part of the just on the court leadership?
I think in that situation, I feel like it's a time and score situation. It was one of those things where we didn't necessarily need to get a shot unless it was a good one, and we just had to find a way to get stops. They really started pushing the ball at us, late in the second half. So we had to find a way to slow them down. But at the same time, like I said, we were trying to find a way to work the clock and take good shots.
Bob, you name it. Okay.
Kaela, again, you transferred here to get a shot at this. Does that make this incredibly satisfying for you?
Sure, absolutely. It makes it 10 times better to be able to say that you want to do something and accomplish it. It's been a long year, a lot of ups and downs, but I think we're finding a way to end on a high note and to just put everything together. We've had our fair share of adversity, but this team has found ways to time and time again just fight through it and find a way to be better because of it.
Name and outlet.
Jeff Owens, Spurs and Feathers. Late in the game, Kaela, I think they had cut the lead down to 3. It was about 1 minute and 40 seconds left when you made that drive to the basket to score, and that essentially sealed it in addition to the free throws. What did you see there, and what was working? It seemed like you were having your way as far as driving to the basket.
I think just attacking them. I think we weren't settling for jump shots, which I think is the best thing that we could have done. And I think, towards the fourth quarter, we were just kind of passing it and waiting for a good shot to come. But I think it was one of those things we kind of had to create a good shot for ourselves. They were doing a good job of keeping us outside the paint and really making us, just like I said, pass the ball around the 3-point line. So, I think it was one of those things where I kind of saw everybody was just a little raised up and found a gap somehow.
Name and outlet, please.
Brad Muller, GamecocksOnline.com. Ty, a little bit about the defense tonight. Florida State had some big three-point shooters, but you guys didn't give them a lot of good looks. Can you talk a little bit about, I guess, the message Coach gave to you, and also about that last steal late in the game that kind of sealed things?
We kind of just stuck with the game plan. We just focused on defense and trying to stop our man. And the last steal, I just saw it coming and just grabbed it, and I don't know. That's what happened.
Any further questions for the student athletes? Ladies, congratulations. Oh, is there one more? Jane.
Hi, Janie McCauley from AP. Kaela, tell us a little bit about that dance. That was spontaneous there, and just did Asia start that, or?
Yeah, I think I think Asia started it. I don't know. It's just one of those end of the moment things. You know, having fun. We love our band. You know, they're funny people, and you know, they're really good people to be around. So I think it was just a way to kind of show that we appreciate them.
All right. Thank you, ladies, and congratulations.
Thanks.
Don't start.
Now we'd like to open up questions for Coach Staley. We'll start with Michelle and Jeff.
Michelle Smith, ESPNW. Don, Sue looked at the stats and kind of looked at it and said if she just looked at those colds, she might have thought they were going to win that game, given the rebounding totals and some stuff going on. Do you feel like, do you feel like you guys won despite maybe some things you didn't do as well as you needed to do tonight?
Well, we won despite turning the ball over. We won despite their runs. I thought them going to a zone and slowing us down and taking away some driving lanes really stalled our offense a little bit. But it also took possessions away. We didn't want to take quick shots, so it almost played into our hands, minus the turnovers. So we ran the clock a little bit, and if that game's maybe 5 minutes longer, we could have a different result. But I just thought we were timely with getting stops. We were timely with getting key rebounds. I thought Danye Clowney came in and gave us, some great minutes and got some rebounds when, I didn't think we were in the play. We just made plays, and we were very efficient on the offensive end.
Name and outlet, please.
Jeff Owen, Spurs and Feathers. Don, can you just talk about the way Kaela stepped up tonight? It seemed like she really dictated the offense when you needed it most.
Well, since we've, gone to a smaller lineup, it's created, more scoring opportunities for Kaela, more driving lanes for her to get to the basket, more opportunity for her to, pull up as well. And she's seeing it, and she's hitting those holes like a running back. And, for her to perform the way she did this past weekend, it just goes to show the type of player she is. Obviously we wanted this all year long, but it takes some adjusting to not having the ball in your hands, but not having Elena Coates puts the ball in her hands a lot more. Had we had, Elena. So, Elena's, you don't want anyone's career to end, but it's been a blessing in disguise for us. We got a little bit more balance, and, Kaela's benefited from it.
Name and outlet, please.
Chris Bullock from SB Nation. So you guys, 2 offensive rebounds, only 8 assists, and obviously lack of second chance opportunities. How did you guys find a way to adjust despite not having that many second chance opportunities?
Well, we exploited, putting the ball on the floor and, challenging them to stop us one-on-one. That was the game plan, to attack their feet, put them back on their heels. And when it's like that, you're not going to, if you can get all the way to the basket, you get all the way to the basket. If you couldn't, then you kick it out. So there weren't very many opportunities to, assist the basket, because we found a way to get to the basket. And when it's working, you continue it.
Jordan Culver,
It's Jordan.
Jordan Culver, Tallahassee Democrat. So, Coach, after watching what Florida State managed to do against Oregon State, did you get a sense, even when your team was up by 16, this team is still going to make a run, they're still going to come back, there's no settling down?
Yeah, they're a team that, they never find themselves out of the game because they play so fast. They take quick shots. They get the ball up and down the floor. They turn you over. as well. So we wanted to make sure that we try to get shots at the basket. Unfortunately for us, we had 18 turnovers, and that allowed them to get back in the game. So we, they had a lot to do with getting back into the game by turning us over. So obviously we got to clean that up before we take on a Stanford team.
Name and outlet, please.
Cheryl Coward, hoopfeed.com. Now that the Final Four is set and you're going to have the opportunity to coach possibly against two of your USA basketball mentors, starting first with Tara Vanderveer, what are your quick thoughts on that and being able to match up against such great basketball minds at that level?
I think it's great. As a coach, you want to coach against the best. That's why I left Temple to come to South Carolina to coach in the SEC, where I think is some of the greatest coaches in the game. And then you get, to this stage at the Final Four, and then there's another tier of coaches who have, won national championships, have won gold medals, have, won 1,000 games. I think it's just great. I think I'm going to be amongst greatness, and hopefully with that, it'll be a great experience for South Carolina.
Michelle.
Michelle Smith, ESPNW. Dawn, how is this different? How's this feeling different than 2 years ago when it was the first time when you guys earned a trip to the Final Four?
Probably 7,000 less Gamecock fans. It felt different because there was no confetti, there was no screaming, there wasn't any passion behind it. And obviously we're 3,000 miles away from home, but when you're a little bit closer, your fans are right on top of you. It just seemed like everybody was kind of far away. And it took you back because you're like, did this really happen? Are we going to the Final Four? But it sank in. It sank in when when we were standing out there and enjoying each other's company.
Mike Clockey from The Record. Can you reflect on both your team and the men's team making it and what that means to the university?
It's incredible. I mean, it's something that Frank and I have both worked hard for. When we came to South Carolina, I'm quite sure he felt the same way, and I don't want to speak for him, but Frank is a great coach. I mean, he's a great coach. He does some great things, and you, as a coach, you feel like there are things that you can control. You can get people to execute. You can get people to believe in your vision. Even the talentless, group of players that you assemble. But you can't do it without talent. You can't do it without belief. You can't do it without, a togetherness. You can't do it without the support of, your administrators, your president on down, without it working. And we felt this for, I've been at South Carolina for 9 years. This is Frank's 5th year. For us to be able to experience 3 Final Fours in the short time that we've been here, there's a lot of love on our campus from everyone and our fans. Our fans are so deserving of this because, they've been there. When we won 2 SEC games, they've been there. When we have been left out of the NCAA tournament. They've been there. And now they get to share in the joys of us, being one of the last 4 teams to participate in this long basketball season. They deserve it.
Thank you, Coach Staley. Best of luck in the rest of the tournament.
Thank you.